Good morning, everyone. So, I had a really interesting dream last night. I'm not going to get into it, but when I woke up, it made me think very prevalently of the saying, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I know on the channel before, that saying, a lot of people, if you don't know what it means, is that whatever you speak out towards another, you are basically declaring good enough to experience for yourself, And I think in the same vein as that, that's why when you look at so many different verses in the Bible, it says to be cautious of what you say about people. And truly, if there is a weight of anger or unforgiveness, to not just have diarrhea of the mouth and let it go, to take that to God in prayer. Because so often, the truth of that, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, is that, we can speak some horrible and heinous events and experiences on somebody and then be amazed that it returns to us, but we shouldn't be. Because when you step into the place of God in somebody else's life and declare that they're this and they're that and this should happen and that should happen, even if they have done you wrong, you are usurping God's authority in their life. And it's just better off, you're better off in the short term and in the long term to, release that burden to God and allow God to work out the details and allow him to mediate that, rather than you trying to mediate that with your mouth or your hands or the people or, calling in favors to get somebody in trouble because you just feel like they deserve that, right? And I was thinking about that. I was thinking over the last, I'm going to say 8, years specifically in my situation. And some it will be longer than that, It just, is something that applies and might help you. But in my situation in the last 8 years, I've had the experience of extending my hand in good faith and having people at the time tell me thank you and receive what I was giving them, all while they were behind my back just saying the most foul and awful narrative about me, trying to set up events to happen in such a way that I would have been raped or had really, really great violence visited upon me. And these are the same people that know what I experienced as a child. And so, this last 8 years has just been an experience for me to recognize that not everybody that sees what your choices are respects them, and not everybody that says I'm a friend is truly a friend, because some of those people truly are just distractions in your life, and they're there to remind you that you still have things within yourself that you have to take a hold of and work on and acknowledge, so that you set up healthy boundary lines for relationships. And if you truly want to change the dynamic of your relationships, the first relationship that you have to change the dynamic of is a relationship that you have with self. And that relationship is based off the relationship that you either believe that you are capable of having or you don't believe you need with God. And to me, it's hard to heal if you're not acknowledging that there are things that you need grace to heal from and heal through. And when you acknowledge that, that's not a sign of weakness. That's actually a sign of strength, that you can acknowledge that you by yourself are not complete in the capacity to overcome things, experiences, heartbreaks, emotional swells, what have you, you fill in the blank, if you don't have the presence of God in your life. And knowing that, to me, is a comfort that, no experience, no person, no institution, no title, no position can ever strip from you, because no one is more powerful than God. No one. Absolutely no one. And there's, plenty of scriptures in the Bible that say that, that speak to that truth. So, as I woke up and I was thinking about that, over these last 8 years, I've had just some really awful, just very, very suffocating experiences. And I've had people, that tried to portray themselves as friends that were trying to tell me how to fix me. And it was like, there's not anything wrong with me. I don't need to fix me. And I don't need you to tell me that I need to fix this because it makes you uncomfortable, right? If God wants me to work on something, he will tell me that he wants me to work on something, and he will walk through that experience with me, and he will give me the counsel to do that. He's not going to put it in your mouth to tell me so that you can lord it over me. And maybe someone that's listening to this, once it's uploaded, you feel like there are people around you that keep saying that they're doing this, for your benefit, but something in your gut tells you that they're not. Listen to that instinct. Allow it to guide you closer to the truth, and allow the truth to be whatever it is in your instance, in your circumstance, in your life. Because once you do that, there is so much freedom from self-doubt and fear, because you know that you can go through innumerable experiences where people wear these facades and masks and see the truth and know the truth and move accordingly, so that you save yourself from whatever planned destruction or heartbreak that these people or this group has for you. And it's going to make them angry. Understand that their first line of defense is going to be to say that you act in a whorish way, that you are lascivious and licentious in your lifestyle, that you have no moral compass. Because again, when people speak like that to another person, they are speaking from the depth of what's within them that they are choosing not to address. And they're projecting it onto somebody else so somebody else can deal with their baggage, rather than them dealing with it, right? The next line of defense is going to be to say that you abuse animals and the weak and the elderly and children, and that's a really hard one, because if you're a loving person, if you're somebody that, has been or has had great violence visited upon you, and you've chosen to heal, if you allow that, that can become a huge trigger to you. But if you accept that that is simply somebody else's thought, that is not your thought, that is not the truth, that is not God's thought for you, then it takes any sting that that lie has out of it, and it places it back into the hands of the one who is holding it, the one who is thinking it. And so now they have the gift of their nasty thinking right back upon them, and they can deal with it. And however that unfolds for them is however it unfolds for them, But the thoughts that God has for you are not evil. They're thoughts to, build you, to give you a hope, to give you a future, to stabilize you, to bring you into experiences where you are respected and you're able to speak your truth and operate in such a way that you don't have to dim yourself to be accepted. You can just be who you are, because who you are is beautiful. He created you to be a beautiful soul. He created you to have a purpose. And the beautiful thing about that is he never abandons you. He's never separate from you, right? No matter how much people in the world and experiences in our lives will try to convince us that if we're going through this, then God's not there, or if this happened, then God wasn't there. No, God was there the whole time. But he's not going to take someone else's free will from them. He has to honor the course that they have chosen in the path of their free will. And sometimes that means that he allows people to do great harm physically, psychologically, sexually, mentally to others. And all the while he is protecting the heart and the mind of the person who is receiving the abuse, so that in the midst of that experience, as they are trusting him and as they are going through this literal hell on earth, that they supernaturally will always overcome whatever is thrown at them. They will always rise up and come to the forefront, because they know that the God who has created all of life, who has created everything that exists, has placed his hand on their life and has allowed them to go through such a dark and dense experience, and yet has still chosen to keep their mind and their heart safe and intact, and chosen to guide them, chosen to be present in their life and be present in the circumstances that unfold in their life. And for people that don't believe in God, it makes them irate, absolutely ballistic with rage, that you would say, or that I would be saying to them, that they can have these horribly dense experiences and yet God is still there. But if you're alive and you're speaking, then he obviously is, because he exists and he's real, and he saw you through that experience. He heard your cries. He gathered your tears in a bottle. Your life is recorded in his book of life. He knows what you're going through, and he is always listening. He is always watching. He is always with you. He's not separate from you, right? So as I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about all of this, as what I'm talking about now, I realized that one of the reasons, maybe even the main reason, that the hate for me has been so strong is that these people have seen how I have come out of everything that they projected onto me over and over and over and over again. And they know what they've done. So they're seeing how truly powerless they are. And when their mind realizes, oh, okay, so she's able to overcome this and that and this too, then the reality starts to set into their mind and their spirit that, okay, so maybe what she's saying is true and it's real. And I have judgment coming to me. I have a consequence coming to me for how I treated this person and what I plotted to do and I wasn't able to do, because at every opportunity it was like she was guided to safety. She was guided away from the trap. So, now there's a realization that a grave was dug, a trap was set, but who's going to fall into it? It's not going to be me. It's not going to be me. It's not going to be, anyone in my life. So who was a pit dug for? Who was the trap set for? The one that set it, the one that created it. God allowed you to set your own trap for your own soul. And he's justified in doing that. He's justified. His judgment is fair and just. And so now, this whole experience is in a state of, people wanting to project, like they always do, that I am somehow doing witchy things. As if God making their secret plans known to me is not just and fair. Okay. So let's see. God knows what transpired. God knows what was secretly plotted, what was secretly spoken of. He knows all of the deceit. He knows everything. Nothing is hidden from him. And you think he called you to be a judge. No, honey. He didn't. God doesn't need the help of a human being to be God. And he doesn't need human understanding to do what he has always done. But if you are convinced that you need to learn that lesson, then you will learn it. You will definitely learn it in spades. It won't be at my expense. It will be at your own. And as that, I sat with that, I realized that truly the last 8 years, I have, I'm going to say 8+ years, but I've had so much change that has unfolded in my life that I'm in a space now where I am just building and creating and moving in a way that is truly, truly aligned to what I know and what I believe. And God is with me every day. And in everything that I do, it's my desire to help people find the center of their motivation, to really evaluate their lives and evaluate why the same experiences in different people keep happening. What it is that they are not dealing with that they are not accepting and acknowledging about themselves, that allows for certain dynamics to continually pop up in their life and be present and be a tool that's very destructive, that doesn't really give them or grant them freedom to, enjoy their life and be happy and not feel stressed and overworked and feel like, it's just, another day and another dollar. And so they have no, joy in life. Because we were created to experience joy. We were created to experience laughter, good flow, good people, good conversation, good food. We were created for that. And if you're going through life and you're never experiencing that, then taking a look at why you're not and being honest with yourself is a sign that there is quite likely something in your familial experience that has been projected onto you that is not right, that is not your baggage, that is not your responsibility to hold or to carry. And it's up to you to change the narrative. It's up to you to be who you are rather than who others want you to be. Nobody else is going to come along and save you from recognizing the truth. You have to walk into that space of being willing to surrender your idea of, what all of this is, what all of it has been, and allow for God to give you the grace to see it. Whatever it is that is holding you back from just living and embodying more peace and more joy in your life and making peace with Him. As an artist, each painting that I paint, before I paint, I always meditate and pray to bring deeper truths to the surface, to help those that see them to heal, to help them focus on the aspects of themselves that they would rather keep in the closet rather than show love to them and accept them and work through, whatever it is that they need to work through with them. And what I have found is that the process of doing that is so full of just creative gratitude that, I can look back over my life and I can see experiences for what they truly were. Experiences that may have at one time been meant to, end my life. They become lessons that I accepted a challenge and I overcame the challenge and I kept walking and moved forward. So when you see another person struggling, rather than taking part in small-minded gossip about them, say to yourself, there I could go but for the grace of God. There I could be but for the grace of God. And maybe extend like a hand of friendship to them. Help them to find their center of motivation of will, not in a judgmental way, but in a way that flows with grace, that we are all here, we are imperfect, and there's not one of us who is without, bends of will, bends of mind. And until we accept that within ourselves, we truly are we become leeches. We're always needing, and never actually satisfying what it is that we think we need. Until you accept that you are imperfect and you work on yourself from that perspective, that's the only way that healing can happen. And all the false narratives that are projected onto you, that are spoken about you, just become meaningless sounds and symbols. And those that spoke them receive that gift back. So, if this is a thought that has helped you, I invite you to take that into your mind and take it throughout your day with you, and in your own life, wherever you're at, find a way to encourage another or inspire another to not give up on themselves, to show themselves, some dignity of discipline, if you will. And outside of that, I hope you have a good day.